Hi, I'm Jim Covington. On behalf of the Illinois State Bar Association, I'd like to welcome you to this week's issue of ISBA Statehouse Review. Today is May 21st, 2013, and we're about 10 days away from scheduled adjournment on May 31st of the Illinois General Assembly. I'd like to talk to you about 8 bills that are still pending and have the possibility of being sent to the governor. The first is Senate Bill 1912, introduced by Senator Kwame Raoul of Chicago and Representative L.G. Sims, also of Chicago. It amends the Code of Civil Procedure to create an enforcement procedure and mechanism for cases that settle, but before judgment is entered, the defendant simply won't comply with the agreed settlement. And it requires the plaintiff to do some things in terms of notice, and then ultimately requires the defendant to pay what he or she or it has agreed to pay within 21 days of receiving the appropriate paperwork. The next bill I'd like to talk to you about is House Bill 2327, introduced by Representative Al Riley from Hazel Crest and Senator Toy Hutchison from Chicago Heights. It authorizes county boards to increase the current court automation fee and court document fee, both of which now are $15, to a maximum of $25. And this would apply to any civil filing and against convicted defendants. It caps the ceiling for convicted defendants at $15 for the court automation fee. The next bill I'd like to talk to you about is House Bill 2992, amending the Family Law Visitation Act. It's introduced by Representative Josh Harms from Watseka and Senator Ira Silverstein of Chicago. It allows a court to consider, if consistent with the best interest of the child, whether or not to award a party or parties the right of first refusal to provide child care for the minor child or children during the other parent's normal parent time. It excludes emergency situations. It requires it to be a significant amount of time, and it requires it to be in the discretion of the court in the best interest of the children. The next bill I'd like to talk to you about is House Bill 2832, introduced by Representative Lou Lang from Skokie and Senator Ira Silverstein from Chicago. It allows a county recorder to establish and use a fraud referral and review process for deeds and instruments that the recorder believes to be fraudulent, unlawfully altered, or intended to unlawfully cloud or transfer title of real property. It is discretionary with all the counties about whether or not they adopt this. It's being asked for by the recorder of Cook County, Karen Yarbrough, and it will send these deeds or instruments that are considered to be fraudulent flagged to a county administrative law judge to determine whether or not to clean up the title for that piece of property. The next bill is House Bill 3111, which creates the Access to Justice Act. Representative Emily McCasey from Lockport and Senator John Mulrow from Chicago, and it imposes a $10 filing fee on every civil filing to fund it, which will be to develop pilot projects across the state for pro bono things. It also creates a statutory court fee task force to conduct a thorough review of all the different civil and criminal filing fees and add-ons and all these sort of things to determine where they ought to be and what they are now. The next bill is Senate Bill 1044, introduced by Senator Ira Silverstein of Chicago and Representative Lou Lang from Skokie, and it makes 4 changes to the creditor's practice or collection practice. It allows enforcement such as wage deduction orders, pay orders, and turnover orders to continue beyond 7 years without revival. It allows service of garnishments by certified mail. It makes the recording of foreign judgments as liens on real estate. And finally, it clarifies that a court in a citation proceeding may enter any order that could be entered in a non-wage garnishment, and that this change is declaratory of existing law. Senate Bill 1898 is introduced by Senator Daniel Biss from Skokie and Representative Laura Fine from Glenview, and it increases the mandatory minimum liability coverage a driver in the state must have for the injury or death to one person from $20,000 to $25,000, for bodily injury or death of more than one person from $40,000 to $50,000, and injury or destruction of property of others from $15,000 to $20,000. And applies to all insurance policies written or renewed after January 1, 2015. Finally, Our final bill is House Bill 2747, Representative Ann Conroy of Villa Park and Senator Dan Harmon from Oak Park. It authorizes written FOIA requests to be submitted to a public body by electronic mail and requires each public body to post an email address where requests for public records may be directed. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.